Thank you for joining us again for our second day in the Last Days series from skitguys.com on the Passion Week of Jesus Christ. Today we'll be reading from a script that's entitled The Last Days, Washing the Disciples' Feet by Rebecca Wimmer. In a room just upstairs, God sits among his friends and would-be enemies. His disciples repose about him. On his left, on his right, their feet engrossed by the same muck and mire caked upon his. Why wouldn't they be? They have walked on the same streets, trod the same paths. They have followed their rabbi, and the dust off his heels has covered their bodies, telling of where they've been, where he has led them. The dirt tells a story of the life God incarnate firsthand instructed them, inspired them to live by living it first.
There Rabbi stands, in the middle of their simple meal, in the middle of their peaceful repose he stands. The disciples have grown to know their teacher, to be abruptly, forthright, unusual even at times, and once again they're about to witness something great and yet something so small.
Removing his outer robes, their rabbi exchanged his robes for a towel. Tying it around his waist, his hands reach with design purpose for a large bowl and a pitcher of water. With resolve, he moves back to the table where these 12 men now sit silently watching him, wondering at him. He never ceases to amaze them. Well, most of them.
Dropping to his knees, he sits at the feet of Andrew. He reaches out and without a word takes his foot up in his hands and begins washing Andrew's feet. Andrew is frozen by his own confusion. His brows furrow and his body tenses at the sight of his rabbi kneeling just below him, performing the work of a common servant, a slave even. His rabbi looks up at him, smiles. Andrew's tension lessens by his friend's reassuring face. Turning his head to the eyes he knows are watching him, Andrew communicates his confusion back to his fellow disciples with the same face they conveyed to him. Looking down, his feet are clean, but the rabbi is not finished.
He moves on to James, and taking up the same posture, began to wash his feet. James, too, is still and silent as his teacher, his friend, washes his feet and washes away the dirt and the dinge crusted to his feet. All eyes are on their rabbi as he finishes and does not stop with these two.
No, he moves to Philip with the same determination, and then Bartholomew, followed by James, the son of Alphaeus, washing their feet too. Still, no one has spoken except one, who leaned in closely to the man beside him to whisper, "What is he doing?"
Only to be met with the same answer, a form of the shrugging of his shoulders.
Matthew, followed by Thaddeus, were the next to have their feet washed, followed by John, then Simon. All sat in astonishment. All sat in disbelief for one reason or another.
Peter's hands tightened with white grip. His rabbi was just picking up the basin from Thomas's now clean feet, and Peter knew he was sitting next to Thomas. Looking down at his feet, Peter saw them for what they were. They were revolting, even to his own eyes. He knew where those feet had been, places known to be dirty, dingy, disgusting, highly undesirable places to travel. The evidence was now on his feet. His feet were a portrait of the paths he had wandered, good and bad. Peter was roused from his silent reverie by the sudden touch of his rabbi's hands on his feet.
"No!"
Peter shouted. Startled from his seat, Peter stepped away from where the rabbi sat on the ground before him.
"No!"
He spoke again, with less brashness and more control as he had learned these past 3 years, and he added,
"You will never wash my feet. Never. I am not worthy of you. You washing my feet? I should be washing your feet. I should be licking the dirt of your soles. No, Lord, you will never wash my feet."
The room fell even more silent silence. Their rabbi stood and looking his frazzled friend in the face and said to him, What I'm doing, you do not understand now, but afterward you will." Jesus motioned for Peter to sit back down and so he could continue. But Peter was still unconvinced, still resolved to remain untouched by the Savior. Then Jesus said, "If I do not wash you, you have no share with me." With that, Peter fell to the ground, head bowed in submission, exclaiming,
"Then not only my feet, Lord, but my hands and my head too." Jesus
smiled as he embraced this new spirit in his friend. The one who is bathed does not need to wash except for his feet, but is completely clean. And you are clean, but not every one of you. And Jesus went back on his knees, took up the cloth, poured the water, and wiped away the dust and the dirt and the muck and the mire from the feet of his friend.
"Not every one of you?" The ominous phrase rang in every ear, and there was one man left, one pair of dirty feet still in need of washing. At the end of the row sat one who purposefully distanced himself from the head of the table. He purposefully abandoned a closer seat. But the basin still in his hand and his feet still in reach, Jesus did as he would do with any man in desperate need. And taking up the floor at Judas's feet, the Lord washed with equal, if not great care, those feet that were in that moment he knew itching to further stray. Those feet that in a moment would run away and betray him.
Sweat on his brow, he returned the bowl and towel, and dressing resumed his place. And he said to them, Do you understand what I have done to you? You call me teacher and Lord, and you are right, for so I am. If then your Lord, your teacher, have washed your feet, you also ought to wash one another's feet. For I have given you an example that you should do as I have done for you.
You have given us an example that we should do as you have done for us.
Do as you have done.
Live as you have lived.